Okay, hi everyone. My name's David. I'm father to Leon, Eugene, and Alan Fleming, who were abducted by their abusive mother in on July 5th, 2018. So I wanted to talk about my story, as several people asked me to make a proper video of it. Um, so I guess it's important to, um, start from back all the way back to when I first came to Japan with my ex-wife, the abductor, and the children. So before we moved to Japan, my wife, ex-wife, sorry, kind of had said before we had children, "Oh, I'd like to go to live in Japan. You can be an English teacher, and I can learn some Japanese there, and then come back to Australia and whatnot." But at the time, we didn't end up doing it, and we had Leon, uh, our first son, in 2009 on May 20th. So after that, we had a second son, Eugene. And after we had him, I said to her, I said, "Oh, I'd like to go to Japan and try and do a business selling model trains because I always wanted to do it in Australia, but Australia is not really the kind of country that's easy to do that kind of a business in." So to me, she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, okay. That'd be good, Leon, and that can get really good at Japanese. And if it doesn't work out after a few years, we can come back to Australia." And then Leon and Eugene are really good with Japanese, and then they already had English skills. So we talked about it, and we made an agreement where she would have a full time job, and I would work English teaching part time, and I would go off to the local volunteer Japanese school um, that was on Thursdays in the local Izumi City Council because we were going to move near to her parents so they could help us out with, watching the kids and everything. So we made an agreement that at the house we would always speak English 100% of the time because, well, one, Leon and Eugene were already Leon could speak English fine because he was almost 4 at the time, and Eugene was like 1.5, 2 years old from memory. So we were like, "Yep, English at home all the time, 100% English. I'll go to the first day class. She will have a full time job. So we shouldn't have a problem with money, but of course we're going to start off in some small little crappy apartment for a while, and I'm going to put a lot of effort in my business and try and start selling." So what I didn't know, and none of my friends unfortunately told me, that she had said to a few of them, particularly Liz Richards, she had said, "Oh, I don't really want to go to Japan. Japan's not a good country. It's crappy social rules and all that." I don't know the real details, but Liz told me that she had said that to her one time at one of the group parties we had or outings. So anyway, fast forward, we moved to Japan. So I bought a used car, with the money, and furniture, furnished the house, all that kind of stuff. And it was rough at first, of course. But the biggest problem. This is where the first agreement that we had made broke before we even really started or settled in Japan. We got over there and kind of goes, "I don't want to work this full-time job, so I'm gonna just get a part-time job at the daycare at the kindergarten that Leon's gonna go to." So, well, there we are. We've already just had a massive hit on our plan for income and everything like that. And oh, by the way, I didn't mention she said she would help me learn Japanese, which never, not once happened, except being called stupid and an idiot. So yeah, already we're like, oh crap. So now our financial status has gone down by easily 80,000 yen a month. So, like people who lived in Japan, I'm sure they can understand, what a big difference 80,000 yen less is per month. Um, it's, kind of a big deal when, like you've got two children and you've got to pay for one of them to go to full time kindergarten. So at that point, I was like, well, I'm going to have to pick up more English teaching hours. And what do you know? Thursday is the day that the Japanese schools open. And, uh, Thursday is also the day that I could make the most amount of money in. So, of course, I straight away immediately couldn't go to that Japanese language class. So anyway, let's fast forward a year. Okay, so we're in Japan for a year. I'm watching Eugene every morning, all morning until about 2:30 p.m., 3 p.m. when I pass him over to the grandmother who watched him for 2 hours or so before Kana came back from her part-time job with Leon. Okay, and of course in that time I'm trying to do my business, watch Eugene. There's no time to study Japanese. There's like I get home at 9 o'clock at night after teaching at a private English school. So of course I'm not learning any Japanese, and like Kana, who promised that she'd teach me, never taught. All right, so that's basically how we have it. So at the 12-month mark, she had this big breakdown and goes, I'm so stressed, I can't speak English anymore at home. Now, what I wanted to note about this part is this date magically coincides with the same date that her call logs and chat logs go all the way back to when I caught her cheating. Now, she was cheating, and I had a feeling she was seeing multiple men. And I had been warned by one of her friends that she was a bit of a, I mean, I don't like to say it, but I guess slut is the easiest word. Because one of her friends noted to me before I got married to her, oh, you don't know about Kana's history with boys. And I go, what do you mean? And she goes, oh, no, I won't say anything. So that was already hinting off. So I should have, maybe I should have listened and, I mean, I wouldn't want Leon and Eugene or Alan to ever not exist, but I could have saved myself and the children a lot of heartache by maybe not marrying her. Or I don't know. Anyway, so she's told me she doesn't want to speak English at home. She's too stressed. She's not going to speak English with the kids anymore. And it's the same day that she starts talking to her ex sex friend. Well, that's how she told it to me when I caught her cheating, when she admitted everything to me. So, yeah. So it's just really strange. Don't you think that it goes like that? Now, fast forward all the way to 2016. No, yes, 2016. Okay, 2016. At the beginning of the year, I started to notice she was a bit strange. She was up, I was being woken up and she's messaging people online at ridiculous times of the night, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I'd wake up with, the light in my face. I'm like, okay, she'd always kind of stop, or she'd exit out of line and go into like a web page and start looking at web pages. I started to get a little bit suspicious, and she was going out a lot. I was letting her go out and watching the children. She'd go out once a week or a fortnight, and she would be going out to this friend who I'd never met before. But sometimes she'd say friends' names that I knew. Apparently, this person, she lived, only a couple of, only 5-10 minute ride from our house. But I'd never met her because she's so busy at work and she can't come over to our house. But okay, so we'll go up to her birthday. So on her birthday, I took her into. I had a big onsen hotel, a really expensive onsen hotel, and I talked to her mother, and she was like, yeah, we can watch the kids, no problem. And then, I'm talking to her about, we're going to go out to Kyoto, so your mom's going to watch the kids overnight. And I didn't want to break too much of the, surprise. because it's a really famous onsen hotel on this near this beautiful mountain with a beautiful lake and stuff. Um, Anyway, no, I'm not going to that. I can't. I'm not leaving the kids with my mother overnight. We had a big argument about this, so I'm not leaving my kids with my mother overnight. She's useless. She's a useless mom. I don't like leaving them with her at all. I'm not gonna leave them. Okay, cool. All right, so that put a hole in my whole plan. And this is like literally on the Thursday, 2 days before it's meant to happen. So I call up, cancel the hotel, and I try to find a nice restaurant. I look at the Kyoto Tower restaurant, not booked out. I went through and I found this one. It was near the station. It was kind of like a vegetable kind of Japanese tofu kind of place. She always eats that kind of tofu vegetable kind of salads and stuff. I'm more of a meat eater, but I do eat it. I can eat it. So I thought, oh, her kind of food, maybe she'll like this. The pictures looked really, really nice on the, that website which shows you all the restaurants in Japan, Tabelog or whatever it's called, or Guru, I can't Guru Navi. So anyway, we went out, had a really, really great day. I paid for her to get these, photos in a kimono and with all the makeup and all this stuff done, which apparently like when you're getting like 30 years old, all the women like to do. We ended up going to the restaurant. Everything 100% fine. Suddenly, oh, this restaurant's got a tear in the seat, and the windows are dirty. So she got upset. I'm not going to eat here, and she was like, "Let's go. I'm going to go home." So she went downstairs. I went over to the guy, and I just paid him. We didn't eat anything, but I just paid the restaurant. I go downstairs, and she's just taken off on me and just gone home without me, completely without me. Okay, so we get home, have a big fight, and I'm like, well, what do you expect? You cancelled the whole plan on me 2 days before it happened. Like, we had a great day all day, but she's so selfish. And this is like, it was the whole time. I put up with a whole heap of mental abuse from her. You're useless, you're stupid, you can't do anything. One time she like hit me with like a wooden, no, it was a metal spoon. Because like I don't know, like I was cleaning and in the kitchen and doing stuff, and Leon and Eugene were being bad, and I should have come out and said something, and then she got shitty at me and hit me with a spoon. She was like doing that. So 2 days later, I'm asleep and I get woken up and the screen's on in my face and she's asleep and she's rubbing her finger on there. And I catch her, I catch in the corner of my eye, I see Echi Shitai. And I'm not great with Japanese, but I'm basic conversational. So I'm like, oh, what's this about? This seems a bit dodgy. So I go in and I have a look at it and she's like, oh, I want to see you. I want to kiss you more. I love you so much. So I downloaded the whole chat log and I went back to sleep and I didn't say anything to her. And then that day I went through, this was 4 years of chat logs with this sex friend guy. A lot of it was normal talk, but it was like, is your husband home? Can you see me tonight? Can I see you tonight? Oh, I want to see you. I love you so much. I kissed you. All this kind of stuff. There was photos. She'd sent photos of her in the bath naked to this guy with the children naked and her naked in a bathtub. I'm just like, I'm shocked. Like, Line only lets you get the text, but when I went up, I could see naked photos that she'd sent and all this kind of shit. And you can see in there that, the chat log says naked photo. So, all right. When that happened, she, begged me to forgive her, and she can't live without me, blah 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 blah. And then at first it was like, oh, I was just wanted to feel young, so I was flirting with him. We didn't do anything. And then, after I went through and pulled out more proof, like, okay, I only saw him once, but we didn't have sex. And then after that, it was like, yeah, he was my old sex friend, and um yeah, I did have sex with him. And then, no, no, I didn't have sex with him. I want you to delete the message and forgive me. And then you must delete the message, because in Japan you can sue for adultery and cheating. So if you ruin the marriage, so of course she wanted me to delete the proof. She didn't want anybody else to see it and see her dirty deeds. After that, I did forgive her because one, around that time we had been started trying to have a third baby, which is Alan, and two, I looked up and found out, oh yeah, if I go through divorce, I'm probably not going to get the kids, so I got to try and fix this marriage. Biggest mistake I ever made. I should have grabbed their passports and just ran to Australia. Um, and like, just, yeah, I was just put in the position where, like, oh, I have to try and fix this marriage. So at this time, she was also, that same year, she'd also became a junior high school teacher. And a couple of weeks after I caught her cheating, we found out she was pregnant with Alan. What really annoyed me is she was doing the sports club, and it was summer. She was like, 1 or 2 months pregnant. And, like, she's in the sun all day. Like, she was leaving at 6:30 a.m. and coming home at 5:30 p.m. And I said, no, you can't go. You're carrying a baby. You can't stand in the sun all day. So that made a lot of problems. And then also the kids, like, the kids would be like, oh, mum doesn't see us anymore, because she was coming home at 6, and then she was tired, so she'd want them to bed by 8 or 8:30, and then only time she wouldn't is when she'd go to kendo, forcing them to go to kendo. And then they'd come to me. They're absolutely frightened of her, because I didn't know really until not long after that. They were absolutely frightened to say anything against her, because they didn't want to get into trouble or whatever else she was doing to them. So this is what I do know. One day the teacher asked, why does Leon want the girl sitting next to him to hold his hand when he goes to the toilet? Leon was trying to get the girl to go into the toilet with him because he's scared of the dark, and he's scared to go into toilets in general. He's scared of toilets. I never could work out why until that day. So this is what I found out. When Leon was little, if he was being bad, and I mean, when you say bad, I mean, for Connor, it was like, oh, if he didn't eat all his dinner, that was being bad, right? And then we're talking like a little 2-year-old or 3-year-old not eating all his food. She would grab him and throw him into the bathroom and lock the door. And the bathroom had the lock on the outside, no windows on the wall, because it was in between two houses. It was a split house. And the light switch was on the outside too. So she was locking him in the dark, and she'd leave him in there until he screamed himself to sleep. And I mean, he would be in there for hours, from what I understood of what she told me. And she goes, oh, but you don't understand how bad Leon was. He was very bad. It needed to be done. It needed to be done. To throw a little kid in a dark room where kids are just in general scared of the dark, you decided it was needed to be done to throw him into a dark room with no lights, no windows whatsoever, for hours on end, screaming because he's so frightened, until he just screamed himself to sleep. Nah, that's torture and massive fucking child abuse. So I was so angry when that happened. And she was like, oh, you just don't understand how bad he was. I wasn't doing anything wrong. He's bad. I'm not doing anything wrong. Child abuse is not wrong. All right, no, child abuse is very fucking wrong. Then I found out, she was probably also hitting them. And, Leon told me one time, because at one stage, Leon had this phase where he was saying, I want to die. And now it coincided with the time that his pet hamster died. His hamster died. And then a while after that, a couple of weeks after that, he started saying, I want to die. And yeah, it was a little bit to do with the hamster because he was very upset the hamster died because he really loved the hamster. But, we're talking 3 months later, little, like 5-year-olds get over that stuff, pretty quick. But it wasn't just to do with that. So I asked her, why is Leon saying I want to die all the time? Oh, he just really loved the hamster. He's really sad. So I didn't believe that. I think that's, of course, I think, yeah, maybe that triggered it, but it's not the main reason. So I talked to Leon one time and I said, oh, why you keep saying that? I love you very much. I'd be very sad if you died. I said, Eugene loves you too. He'd be very sad, and your mother. And then he said to me, he goes, no, mum doesn't love me. He said, mum hates me. And, I didn't know what to say. I said, why do you say that? And he said, she hits me and she doesn't love me. And, I said, what do you mean she hits you? And he goes, oh, she hit me whenever I do anything. He said, Leon is, he said, Eugene says I did something, but I didn't do it. And then she hits me. She said, if Leon starts crying, she hits me. Eugene didn't even say I did it. And then, I got really upset when I hear this. And, of course I approach her. Oh, no, I only hit him when he's bad, when he's done bad thing. But I think, and I know, she has a very small temper. I'd say that she was beating him a lot over really small things that I would never hit a kid with. Which brings me to another point about her child abuse. So, this is just one example, but she's done it many a times. So one time we were sitting at the dinner table. This was, I can't remember if it was just before or a little bit after Alan was born. Eugene was, we had late lunch, like maybe we had lunch at 2 o'clock, and we always had dinner at 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere around that time. Eugene's sitting at the table and he goes, he didn't eat anything. Now there's some things he doesn't like to eat, but he will usually eat some of the food. He just goes, I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat, in Japanese to her. So no speaking like you have to eat your dinner, or like, all right, you're gonna stay there until you finish dinner. She grabbed his plate and she threw it down in his direction onto the table. The plate smashed up, hit Eugene, smacked him up here, food everywhere, food all over the table, food all over me. Then she gets up, grabs him by the neck, drags him and throws him out the front door. Like just throws him, not just standing up, like throws him out so hard that he falls over. Gets scratches all up his arm. Then she comes over, locks the door, comes over, starts screaming at me like, you're the father, you should be doing this, you should be teaching him how to behave, blah 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 blah. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. I said, you didn't have to throw the plate at him and throw him out of the house. You just say to him, all right, you sit there until you finish eating. You don't need to go fucking mental attack. Then she screams at me and she like throws her fork at me and storms off. And then Eugene's like literally sitting there. Leon, sorry, is sitting there petrified, like not even moving, not even talking. And even after she stormed off, Leon just sitting there for like literally 4 minutes, not saying anything. Eugene screaming, banging on the door. And, I bet it was many cases of her doing this kind of thing, like just absolute mental attacks. I even got told about the mental attack she had on her parents one day where she threw a big fat book at her mum and bruised her mum's face up. Okay, so like all these things started to come up and we started to have problems, arguing a bit and, and so forth. I think, though, at this time, She had Alan, and she had a year off work. She wanted to go back after 3 months. I said, no way. I said, no way. You're not leaving Alan in a daycare at 3 months old. No way. I'm not going to allow that. That's, I said, you're taking the 12 months off. But that was a big problem because she wanted to go back to work. She wanted to, she didn't want to actually raise Alan. She just wanted to stick him in the daycare. But, so, yeah, like she took the 12 months off because I demanded it. I was just like, no, you're not going back to work. Like, there's no way in hell I'm putting a 3-month-old baby in daycare from 7:30 a.m. through to 6 p.m. because that's what time she wanted to do it. And at that time, maybe on Friday, one Friday a month, and maybe on Wednesday, I can pick Alan up, like 4 o'clock or so. But generally, that's when I do my part-time job, and I'm doing my business earlier. She was like, she was so pissed about that. I just knew it, that was it. And then I think like when you add it all up, she had a plan. So after I caught her cheating, she triple locked her phone. She had 3 levels of passwords. She had some app where you have to put a password in. So you'd first do the fingerprint or the password. Then there'd be an app which would ask for another password. Then Line and all those other apps would have another password on them. So, like, she's still cheating on me. I had a feeling about it, but I had no proof, and she was still going out because, like, at the end of the day, like, if you want to go out, that's fine. I love spending times with the kids. We have movie nights, we, like, have a gaming night, we'd play games, board games, or, do something fun. And she'd obviously off cheating. I still believe that she was still cheating on me with other people even after I caught her, but I just never could get proof. Then so we come up to 2018 Golden Week. So Golden Week, she wanted to go to Tokyo to see some friends that Leon and Eugene were going to kindergarten with at the end of kindergarten. They moved up to Tokyo with the new boyfriend. So yeah, okay, cool, great. And she wanted to meet Kaori, which was another person who lived in Australia and also had a short temper. I won't even get started on her. I feel sorry for her husband. Yeah, okay, cool. We paid, we went up there, we visited Kaori, we visited her other friend Kaneko, and it was fine. I don't have much to say to them, so I just keep quiet. I'm carrying a big backpack full of I'm carrying a big massive backpack full of clothes all day on a summer's day. Don't complain at all. The next day we go to visit the kindergarten friends. So that was fine. It started off fine. But that night, he brings out the sake and the wine and beer and stuff. And they start having a couple of drinks. And that night, she just let it rip. She was bagging me out, just saying everything negative or nasty she could think of about me. I'm just sitting there speechless, and I'm not good enough Japanese to really turn around and counter her argument. The Japanese guy, he even said to me, he goes, I can see Kana is the kind of person who has to have everything her way. Otherwise, there's going to be problems. And I'll tell you, that's definitely the truth. If it wasn't 100% her way, it was the end of the world. And I mean, this is what I'm saying when I say she was abusing the kids. If they didn't do exactly what she said, she would. And I know when I wasn't there, because I used to stop her and tell her, you don't do that. I know when I wasn't there, she was definitely smacking them and hitting them and doing things that you just wouldn't do to a kid for small things like that. If they're really, really bad, I believe in smacking a kid. But there's a difference between smacking a kid and beating a kid. And yeah, she definitely didn't know where that line existed. So she abused the crap out of me there in front of them, just telling them all kinds of lies and bullshit. So I didn't understand all of it, but I'm okay at listening. But she was just, bagging me out. They were just sitting there speechless. They didn't even know what to say. She just went on for like literally 2 hours. So after that, She didn't speak to me. We came back to Osaka, and for like 2 or 3 weeks, she didn't say anything. She would say to the kids in Japanese, "Can you tell your father this? Because I can't remember English." Then Leon would come over to me and go, "Oh, Mum said this." I said, "Mate, I already know. I heard her. Don't worry about it." And then one day, it was getting pretty bad. Like she just wouldn't speak to me at all. She said to Leon, Leon said to me one day, sorry, Leon came up to me and goes, "Oh, why'd Mum forget Japanese? Like, that's bad. Forget English. That's bad, right? Why she not forget? Why she not remember the English?" And I said, "Oh, mate," I said, "Your mum's being very silly. I'm sorry. And he goes to me, "Oh, mum makes me sad when she doesn't do that." I went and told her. I said, "You're upsetting the kids, being childish and stupid like this." So after that, she started talking to me, but at this point, I didn't know. We were coming up to what would it be, about April. She didn't say. April was okay. Wasn't talking to me much, but we were doing stuff. Then we came up to May. So May is where it all started. So in May, what I didn't know is she had put in the application for, divorce. She did it 100% behind my back. I didn't know anything about it. She never spoke to me. Didn't say, "Oh, I want to get divorced. I'm putting in an application." Obviously, she had seen the lawyer, and he'd been like, "Oh, don't tell him," because she wanted to fast track it. She wanted to get divorced as quick as possible, as quick as you can get it done. Like, so he said to her, "Oh well, if you want it quick, this is how you do it." So this is what she did, and this is what I'd say the lawyer told her to do, and her mum planned. Okay, first off, one, passports disappeared, photos disappeared, hard drives disappeared before the photos. I noticed the hard drives were missing at first. I said, "Where are the hard drives?" "Oh, I gave them to my mum. She wanted to make some copies of some photos." "All right, cool. Well, I need to get some stuff off it. Can you tell them to bring it back?" "No, I can't. They're like 4 blocks away. So yeah, you can. I'll go over and get it." "No, no, no. They need it for a little bit longer." I'm like, "No, no, I need to get something off it. There's like documents on one of the drives." Uh, no. Anyway, I said, all right. I was like, "You get them drives back, otherwise I'll call the police." I said I needed these drives for my business, for something to do for my business. So anyway, her mum brings them back reluctantly. When I get the drives back, that's when I noticed the passport little books that they had their passports in were kind of hanging out. Like the sleeves that they were in was there. And I was like, "Oh, it looks really, really thin." I pulled it out. They're gone. I said, "Where's the passports?" "Mum's house." "Why are they at your mom's house?" "Oh, she's just keeping them there in case someone steals them." Yeah, bullshit. I started to suspect something was going wrong. This is right near Leon's birthday. All right, so bringing them back. No, no, I'm not bringing them back. No, I'm bringing them back. I said, "Oh, I'll ask the police. I'll say your parents stole them." "Oh, but I'll just say that I gave them to them, and then that's okay. I'm not allowed to do that." So I started to get suspicious something was going on. And I mean, I couldn't really do much. I started to go off and try and get the Alan registered as an Australian citizen, but she wouldn't let me take them anywhere by myself. She was like, she would make sure she was in the car. She wouldn't help me fill out the form. I was like, I want to like just register Alan as a citizen of Australia, because Alan was born in Japan, the other two in Australia. She wouldn't help, wouldn't do anything with that. Then suddenly, um, I get this thing in the mail. Like this is a week or two later. I get something in the mail. It's all in Japanese. It's just sitting on the shelf at the doorway. "What's this?" No answer. I just look at it and no answer. What is it? I opened it up. I couldn't understand it properly. "What is it?" I look at it and I said, "Oh, something family court, da 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 da." Google Translate wasn't really translating properly. It was giving random crazy words. So she wouldn't tell me. I started to get. I had an assumption from what I could get from the Google Translate camera that it was about divorce or something. So I went off to my friend. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you've got to be at the mediation tomorrow. You're getting divorced. What? I was like, I can't go tomorrow. Like now, it kind of knows my schedule, and she did it on the shift that is like I really can't call in sick for. Like it was for one of the companies I worked for, ECC, and it was like one that was out in the middle of nowhere, and I did long travel to get there, and it was like something I couldn't really call in sick on, and it was like just too late, like freaking like 26 hours notice or something. So I call up the family court. I said, I can't come in. I only just got the form. Oh, you have to come. You have to come. So I missed it. I don't know anything. I haven't had a chance to talk to a lawyer, and this is the whole plan. So I missed it, and so not understanding the importance or anything of it, you'd think that if you get that mediation thing, you'd have to like sign that you received it, but no, not in Japan. Common sense is not a thing that is welcome in Japan. After that, I went to talk to a lawyer, and the lawyer's like, "Oh, if she's done that, then they're probably trying to fast track it to court." So he called up the family office with the form I showed him, and he goes, "Oh, she cancelled it on this date." It was like literally 4 days after I missed the first mediation meeting. She just cancelled the whole mediation. She left in the custody or not custody, but visitation mediation, but she cancelled the actual divorce mediation and went straight to court, put in a court application. So right then is when I panicked. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on? So the lawyer's like, okay, we'll have a think about it, blah, 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 blah. Fast track a few more days. Now, it was a Wednesday night. I come home, and she's basically said to me, the kids don't like you, they want to live with me. I want you to move out of the house because the kids don't want you here. Right now, that's absolute bullshit, because Leon and Eugene loved me very, very much, and Alan loved me too. When I went to pick up Alan from daycare, his face would light up and he'd run over so bloody quick. And I turned around and I said, okay, Leon, I'm sitting at the dinner table eating dinner when she's saying this to me. She said it to me out loud, like later, like at the house. And I said, okay, Leon, who do you want to live with? Your mother or me? Or did I say me or your mother? I think I did your mother or me. Anyway, Leon looked at Connor, who was on the other side of the room, sitting over on a chair, and the kids were sitting on the sofa watching TV, and I'm on the dinner table. Leon looks at her and he goes, oh, I love Mum, but I want to live with Dad and go to Australia. And then Eugene goes, I want to go to Australia too. And then I was like, okay, thanks, Leon. And I just finished it with that, and I kept eating dinner. 5 minutes of absolute silence. She didn't say a word. She just giving me the death stare. I thought she was going to come over and hit me or stab me with a knife or something. It was that fucking scary, the death stare. Suddenly, your father said he's going to kill me. Did you hear that? Oh, you don't say you're going to kill people, do you? I said, Leon, did you hear me say that? I said, that's a lie, right? You didn't hear that. And he goes, nah, she lied. Then she just goes, oh, okay, we're going to bed. So she grabbed Leon, Eugene and Alan, and she's like, come on, Leon, go to bed. Leon's like, no, I'm going to bed with Dad. And I grabbed Leon, and I'm holding Leon's hand, and she's trying to get Leon to come, and Leon's like, no, I'm going with Dad. So she went off to bed with the kids. This is like only 7 or something, right? And Leon comes up to bed with me, and I'm talking to Leon, and Leon's like, "Oh, I want to go to Australia and see Grandma, and I want to go to the train place because we used to take him to this little train ride, Thomas train ride place, and we're talking, and then we played a game together on the Switch. Um, yeah, and then I kissed Leon goodnight, and Leon slept in the bed next to me, and the next morning I had to go early to work because I was working far away. Um, so I left at 6:40, and the kids had only just got up. I said, "See you later." I didn't even kiss them goodbye because I was in a rush. They said, "See you" to me, and the next thing I know, it's about 7 p.m. I'm at my evening class, and I just get this message like, I've taken the kids to grandma's house. You're not going to see them until you come to the mediation," which she'd already cancelled. So one, it was a lie. She goes, "Unless you come to the mediation on August, I think it was like August 4th or something. I can't remember the date off the top of my head." I was like, "Oh, you better come back with the kids." I said you better come back by Saturday. I figured, Friday cool down, Saturday, afternoon come back. So she goes, "Oh, you're not going to see the kids again." Um, like, so basically, I tried calling her twice. She didn't answer. Then randomly at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock that night, probably after the kids had gone to sleep, she rang the kids and said, she rang me, sorry, and said, "Oh, you're never going to see the kids again." I was like, "Oh, you better bring them back." I said, "You can't steal them. They're my kids too." Um, so yeah, I left it. Friday, I didn't say anything. I didn't even message her Friday. I didn't say anything. And then Saturday morning, I said, "You better come back today." I didn't get a response. And then I tried to call at about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. No answer. So I went to the police station just to report it anyway, to report that she'd done it. The police tell me, yeah, well, that's a family matter. We can't really assist with that. I said, I said no. So it's like, it's not a family matter. She's taken the kids and she's refusing me access to them. You need to make a police report. So he goes over, and they get this street cop in to do the translation for me, and so I can fill out the form. And I said to the guy, look, she's abusive. She beats the kids, and she does mental DV on them, like examples of mental DV, like, "Oh, you make me want to die" to the kids. She used to say that to them. I mean, who says that to your son? "You make me want to die." He goes, "Well, in Japan, women can't do DV. Only men can do DV. There's nothing for women to. There's no way we can or process to charge them. Only men can do DV." And I'm like, what do you mean? I said, "She hits them and beats them, like, like, yeah, but they're just in Japan, like, we don't consider violence from women as domestic violence." And so they refuse to even acknowledge that, or that as a reason to go and see the kids or see if they're okay. And I asked him, I said, "I'm going to go to the grandma's house and knock and ask to see my children." He goes, "Yeah, you can do that as long as you don't cause this disturbance to neighbors and whatever." So I went up in my car, parked my car out the front, and rang the doorbell. And the grandma, Toyo Nishimoto, now she's the worst one of them all. I reckon she was a mastermind. "Wakaranai, shirenai. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know." I'm speaking in Japanese, right? I'd like to see my kids, and um, I said, all right. I said, okay, in Japanese. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna wait here until they come back." So I waited about 20 minutes, and I didn't really time myself, but it was about 20 minutes. And I started to drive away, and as I drove away, um, I I could hear sirens. I didn't see the police car, but I could hear sirens. Anyway, I went home and I got a call like a few hours later from the police saying, you must come into the police station now, otherwise we will come and arrest you. So I went in there and I spent 7 hours at the police station. Now this I guess he was. The translator kept calling him a detective. I wouldn't call him a detective because detectives are usually smart, and this guy was as fucking dumb as they get. He was just an absolute total racist asshole, and all he kept saying was, as every answer I give them was, liar, liar, he's lying, liar, 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 he's lying. It was like, are you a detective or a moron? I don't know what you are. So they said I went onto their property and I took stuff from their front yard and what was the other claim? So I went onto their property, I took stuff from their yard. They don't even really have a yard, they're basically right on the road. And I was harassing them. I don't know what they meant by that. I think he was trying to say that I was swearing at them or screaming at them or, threatening them in some way. Anyway, of course, no, I didn't do it. No, I went there. I went there and then I rang the doorbell and I parked out the front, which is not a crime. Maybe I violated like half an inch of space as my button passed the level of the road and their land to press the button. I don't know if that's illegal, possibly. It could be because Japanese are really corrupt. They'd probably make that up as some reason to try and arrest me. They wanted me to write a letter. So I will not harass Toyo Nishimoto and Yoshiyuki Nishimoto again. I was like, no, I'm not writing that. Literally, it was just a loop of the same thing for an hour of them just saying, we need you to write this. I was like, no, I'm not going to write it. Or why won't you write it? So you're not going to write it? Are you sure you're not going to write it? And then I said, why? What's going to happen if I don't write it? Well, so like, and then like the guy like pulls out his these cuffs or something off onto his lap, like he's gonna arrest me, like he's trying to scare me. If I don't write this letter, we're gonna arrest you. And I'm like, so I think I need a lawyer before I write anything for you. Oh no, you can't see a lawyer. We just need you to write the letter. I was like, no, I'm not writing that because it would be like admitting I did something I didn't do, right? I didn't harass them. I went and asked to speak to my kids. That is not harassment. Yeah, it went on for a while. They made it seem like they were like, you can just write the letter, you can go home, I really don't think if I'd wrote that letter, I would have been going home. I think I would have been in cuffs going into the detention center so they could violate my human rights. After that, about an hour into that just looped conversation of them trying to get me to write this letter, I go, okay, I'll write a letter. All right, give me paper and pen. So I wrote down, I have not and will not harass Toyo Nishimoto and Yoshiyuki Nishimoto, signed David Fleming. The guy's like, oh, he's so excited. He lit up. You could see in his face. He's so excited I wrote this letter. Like the not the street cop guy. He was just, translating, but the detective, if that's what you want to call him, he was so excited. He was like, his face lit up. Now, the whole time he just looked like this sour fucking lemon or prune that had been salted too much. Suddenly he's all excited and smiling. They're like, oh, please wait here for, 10 minutes or so. We'll be back and then you can go. Yeah, right. So anyway, 10 minutes, 15 minutes pass. I don't know how long it was. I was in there for a while. He comes back. Oh, he was fuming. You could see his face. He was so angry. He's like, this isn't what we asked you to write. I was like, yeah, no, it's not. I said, I'd write you a letter. I said, I didn't do it, so I'm not writing anything. I said, that's all you're going to get from me. I said, otherwise, go get my lawyer or let me go home. Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they tried to get me to do it. And I said, look, I'm not changing that. We can sit here for another 6 weeks if you want. I am not changing that letter. After that, they let me go, and they were pissed off. And he said to me, if we call you and you don't answer your phone, we are going to arrest you. So I went home and, usually I mute my phone, but I left my phone on ringing because I'd kind of Googled a little bit about Japanese police and how corrupt they are and how they'll try and do their best to trick you into signing a confession or force you to do it. The next morning, 6 a.m., out the front of my house, 11 police officers. Is that harassment? Are they trying to intimidate me? Yeah, I believe so. Definitely. First thing he says, you have to come into the station. We're going to arrest you. I said, why? They said, I told you to answer your phone. I rang you 11 times last night and you didn't answer your phone. I pull out my phone. I go, no, you didn't. Call log, not a single missed call. He goes, oh, you delete them. He said, I call you. I said, all right, show me. And he goes, well, it was from police phone. I can't show you. I said, what number did you call? And he reads out the number. It was Kana's number. The fucking idiot was calling Kana. Not me, Kana. What a fucking idiot. Oh, well, yeah. Well, she said you threatened to kill her last night. I was like, how could I threaten to kill her last night? I was here till like 11 o'clock at night. Oh, well, did you do it afterwards? And I'm like, no. I said, I haven't seen her. I said, she abducted the kids like 4 days ago. 4 days ago, she abducted the kids. I was at your station till 11 p.m. Are you telling me that I ran off, somehow found her, threatened to kill her, and then went home? And he goes, well, they said you threatened to kill her yesterday in night. And I'm like, no. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. I said, what time did it happen? Oh, they didn't say. I said, she abducted the kids. I haven't seen her since. I said, look, you can see on my phone, I haven't called her. I said, didn't happen. It's a lie. They're telling you a lie. You'd think that you would have like worked this one out yourself before you even came here, because obviously she didn't know I was at the police station. I've got a voice recording of one of them. They actually stopped me voice recording them. They grabbed my phone when I flipped my phone and they saw me recording them. They grabbed the phone and stopped it. But they wouldn't let me video record them. When they came, I started trying to video record them. Now, they came to my house with a different excuse and recycling the same excuses. What was it? It must have come in 3 weeks. They almost came for a while. They came like 5 or 6 days straight. And I told my boss, Jackie Hamada at the time, who was a local city councillor, I told her about it. She didn't really say. She said, just don't sign anything for them. But they came to my house 6 days, and I think they must have come to my house 12 times in about 3 weeks. Now, this is the next part. After they abducted them, they completely refused to get it back. On the phone call that I had, and I've got the voice recording, and you can hear me. You can't hear the person I'm talking to, but you can hear me talking to the translator. Now, this is what the translator says. The translator says, she owns the kids. They're her kids now. All right, well, we're still married, so no, she doesn't own the kids, and nobody owns kids. Kids are people, they're not property. But anyway, she owns the kids now, and you can't see them. He said, if you go and talk to them on the street, if you try and pick them up from school, if you try and take them from her house, which I guess he meant by that is the parents' house, wherever she was staying, we will arrest you, and you can go to jail for 3 years. And you can hear me say back, but I own them 50%. I said, we're still married, like, that is the insanity of this country. This country treats children like property, like a piece of furniture that you can own and fight over. And he said to me, this is what he said to me. He said, you can go to court and try and get them back. However, I went to speak to a lawyer, and the lawyer said, "You're not going to get them back." He said, he goes, "Oh, this is how much it's going to cost you." And he said, 5% chance you get them back, but for a foreigner, probably 0%. He said once they take them, they just apply the principle of continuance, which means that they just agree that they should just stay where they are, and it doesn't matter who is the better parents. None of that is taken into consideration. It's just, this is where they are, let's just leave them there because we're too lazy to do a proper job or have common sense or principles. It's just, hey, this person who abducted them, they must be the best person because they were smart enough to abduct first. And I think this is where it is. I mean, you see lots of things in the news on a weekly basis. Like, it's very regular where some single mother, especially young ones, kill or starve these children, or they get abusive boyfriends who don't give a shit about that kid because it's not their kid, and they beat them, sexually abuse them. Like, this is the kind of country, they have no care about that. They don't give a shit about who they're giving the kid to. They don't really consider any of that. It's just, oh, they're here, so they should just stay here. Like, it's just a disgusting nation. I don't know how this has been allowed to happen for so long. It is a massive violation of children's rights and the father or the losing parents' human rights to just have access to their own children. So the next part of this, and the reason this is like part of the reason why I left Japan. So when I decided to leave Japan, a few things had happened. One, the police were harassing me, and they seemed like they really wanted to jail me. Like, they were just coming around with random excuses, and I don't know if this was Toyo Nishimoto or Kana just telling lies and trying to get me locked up. It was all a plan. She definitely had a plan to get all the property from me. So, I'm riding home from work one day, and this is I can't remember the exact date. It wasn't too long after the abduction. It must have been about a week after the abduction. Probably even less. He had stalked me one day before. I was riding home, and obviously Kana's told him my schedule, what days I normally work. So I'm riding home from work, and he's followed me, and I saw him, and he knows I saw him, and he backed off and left. But he was stalking me. Then the next day, I think it was the next day or 2 days after, I was going home, and I was going through some narrow streets, and I saw him behind me, and he was just going really, really slowly. So if I turned a corner, he was the street corner back, just turning into the street I'm in. I slowed down about midway into this small, long street, and he came around, and then I was waiting for him, looking directly at him. He noticed I saw him. He slammed on the accelerator and tried to run me over and kill me. Now, as soon as I saw him start driving at me, I rode into the gutter and fell into it. And his van hit the side of my arm. I grabbed my bike. I rode off down the other way, around, through a pedestrian-only area. He sped off all the way around down the road to the other side. I went up the hill and into a car park, and I got off my bike and I recorded him come up the hill. I'd only just got off my bike. This is how fast he was driving. He was like, these zones are only, you're meant to go like 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers. He was doing like 60 or 70 in these streets, like insane speeds. He came up. I pulled out the recorder. I'm in shock. I haven't even thought that he tried to kill me yet. I was just like, what the hell is going on? And I'm just like, oh, here he comes stalking me again. And I recorded him come into there. I went off to the police and I told them about it. And you know what they said to me? They said, they looked at it and they said, you know what, let's not worry about that right now. They said, they said, there are serious allegations about you. Um, we must protect old people. Um, they said, you should not go near their house. And then the next day, the police came to my house for stalking her parents. And I would be able to say, because Chiaki Hamada, the person I was working for, who was a city councillor, I ended up calling her and going, "There's 11 police out the front of my house. I don't know what to do." And she spoke to the detective, and he's said, "Oh, they said he's stalking them, and if he goes near their house, we'll arrest him." So they were like just finding every way they could to try and get me to break something so they could arrest me and violate my human rights, like they did to Scott McIntyre. So you can see like just exactly how bad this country is, especially when it comes to a foreigner. But I know they do this to Japanese people as well. But I think with a foreigner, it is just that much easier for them to do, because one, there's a language gap. Two, you don't have the same rights that a Japanese person does, and anybody who's lived in Japan will be able to tell you that there's one rule for Japanese and there's a second rule for foreigners. I just do not understand how in 2020, a country which is meant to be an American ally, Australian ally, and allies with most other Western nations, gets away with one, treating foreigners and violating their human rights, two, abducting children in massive numbers. We're talking 150,000 children a year. And nothing is said by anybody. Like, it's just, like, there should have been sanctions on them, trade sanctions. There should have been travel sanctions on Japanese people. They shouldn't be allowed into our countries. Like, they ignore red alerts, and then they have the nerve to say that Lebanon should return Carlos Ghosn. Like, why should Lebanon return him to a country which is going to torture him, for a confession just so they can save face? This country should not be trading with anybody else. They're as bad, if not worse, than China. The only thing they're missing out on is the Chop Squad vans. Other than that, they're violating children's rights. Even China returns children that are abducted. Not a lot, but they do return them, where they believe, according to their system, that it is warranted to return children. But we're talking about Japan, who has never, even since signing the Hague, returned a single child. And I think this really needs to stop. And I know I ranted a lot in this story, but it's just really hard to keep it clear cut. And I think, like, in the end of the day, the first thing I want to see is, one, Australia calling out Japan for what they're doing. Two, not renewing the defense pact with Japan, because they're no Australian ally. You don't treat Australian citizens like that and then think you can be our ally. We don't want a defense pact with a country that treats people like that, and we don't want a defense pact with a country that violates the most basic of children's rights. And I think we should also ban trade or restrict trading on them, and increase it if it doesn't force them to change their ways. All right, so yeah, in a nutshell, my children abducted July 5th, 2018. I haven't seen them since. I got a video call in August where she hung up as soon as Eugene said that he wanted to come to Australia. And then an hour after that video call, she made him record a voice message going, "Only joking, ha, 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 ha." Because that really sounds like he was being serious and joking. And then, yeah, basically, I got another video call. I can't remember the date. It was around Christmas time, 2018. She had the kids, all three of them. So Alan at the time would have been about 1 year and 6 months old, 7 months old, and Leon and Eugene. She had Leon and Eugene facing the ground, looking down at the ground, and a 1.5-year-old looking down at the ground. So I couldn't see their face. And it lasted about no more than 20 seconds. Hi Leon, Eugene, Ellen, I miss you, I love you. Don't listen to your mum's lies. See, they don't want to talk to you. Hang up. So, who makes their kids line up in a line looking at the ground, forces them to do that? That is mental abuse and alienation on an extreme level. Who makes them go on a video call with their father, look at the ground like that so they can't see their face, in fear of they'll get into trouble if they look up at me or speak? And even the baby was looking at the ground. We're talking 1 year, 7 month old. You cannot teach a baby. If I was really that bad, you could not teach a 1 year and 7 month old baby to hate me and look at the ground and be like, I don't want to talk to dad. That is like, I don't know what kind of abuse she did, but to force a kid, a baby, like a kid that age, 1 year, 7 months old, to look at the ground and not look up, that is some massive child abuse there. I just, how they can get away with this stuff is just incredible. Like, but anyway, that's basically my story. Thanks. Bye.